Hello and welcome to Finextra. I'm Emily Haller at Cybos 2015 and I'm joined by Nathan van der Velde of KU Leuven. Thank you very much for joining me. So with TPPs being largely unregulated, how is PSD2 impacting these providers in the EU?
Well, the PSD2 places these TPPs under regulatory oversight. It considers them as payment service providers, and that means these parties will have to deal with a whole raft of legal requirements and obligations similar as what banks already have been dealing with. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. But we also have to consider that the PSD2 goes beyond just regulating these TPPs. It also aims to foster innovation, drive competition within the whole payment market. And one of the consequences of that focus is that these TPPs are granted access to online payment accounts. And it's in this area where some gaps, some uncertainties still remain. For instance, we still have to deal with the fact that several providers today encourage customers to disclose their personalized security credentials. Now we have to consider that this instigates security implications. How will a bank be able to distinguish whether it's a customer or actually a TPP accessing the account? So this gives rise to financial fraud, man-in-the-middle attacks and identity theft risks. So this is something which needs to be clarified in the future.
And what's the current legal status of cryptocurrencies?
Well, legal status of cryptocurrencies is much more uncertain, and this is especially so in Europe. Here we have to deal with a lot of diverging opinions, and there's not really any convincing argument to be made to place them under the existing legal framework or on the recent legislative initiatives such as the PSD2 or the AMLD4. But whilst there have been calls to actually regulate cryptocurrencies on a European level, nothing has happened, meaning that cryptocurrencies remain largely untouched. There is, however, one notable development on the European level, and that's a pending case before the European Court of Justice, whereby it's discussed whether cryptocurrency exchange services are taxable or not. And this could pave the way in the future for a more harmonized approach in Europe. So we have to distinguish the situation from Europe and the United States. For instance, in the United States, the federal regulator is considering these cryptocurrencies exchange services as money services businesses. But also we see developments on a federal and state level. Here we have to consider that, for instance, the state of New York has introduced the BIT license, subjecting these cryptocurrencies to licensing and capital requirements, but also to compliance efforts relating to anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing.
And with both payments being developed, is enough happening?
Well, it's important to make a distinction. I think for TPPs, the PSD2 is definitely a step in the right direction. It creates a level playing field between banks and these new emerging market entrants. It fosters innovation, it drives competition, but it also ensures a high level of consumer protection. So that's good. But we also have to consider that the remaining ambiguities need to be addressed. When you take these into account, and these need to be clarified in the future. And if that is done, then I think we're definitely on the right track. For cryptocurrencies, the situation is a little bit more uncertain because regulators are still challenged with how and whether to regulate cryptocurrencies. And as such, there's a kind of lack of progression. And this could ultimately lead to the situation where individual member states, for instance in Europe, are imposing their own views. And we should really try to avoid a nationalistic approach to cryptocurrencies. We have to take into account that it's inherently global. So this really requires a sort of consistent, harmonized approach, not on national level, not on regional level, but on a global level. And that is something we should strive for.
Nathan, thank you very much. And thank you for watching.